Good morning, dear students of HSC first year. Welcome to the online class arranged by Rajshahi College. I am Mohammad Amir Sadat, Assistant Professor of English. Hope you all are keeping fine by the grace of Almighty Allah. You know that day by day COVID-19 patients are increasing in our country. We have not found any favorable condition to open our educational institutions. For this reason, we have arranged this online class. I think this online class will help you to continue your study at home. Today, I will deliver a lecture on Unit 1, Lesson 3 from your textbook English for Today, and the title of this lesson is Two Women. And these two women are Valentina Tereshkova and Kalpana Chawla. Today I will deliver a speech or a lecture on Valentina Tereshkova, and we will discuss about Tereshkova, her life, her career, etc. You know that the text is very important because from your text there should be MCQ questions, there should be flowchart, there should be clause test with clues, without clues, there should be summary writing. So I request all the students to read the text carefully, and after reading the text carefully, you may answer all the questions. And I have another suggestion that while reading the text, you have to build your vocabulary. And unless you build a good and strong vocabulary, you are not capable to understand the passage. So please try to read the passage with vocabulary, and you can take help from dictionary to make a very good and strong vocabulary. Okay, now we will discuss the text. I have made a slide presentation, and with the help of slide presentation, we can study the text. Okay, let's go to the slide presentation. Well, dear learners, before going to start discussion from text, let's have a look on today's class outline. From today's class, you will learn some classroom behaviors, theme of English first paper, marks distribution of first paper, Unit 1, Lesson 3, text with annotation, and I will thoroughly read the text and explain it. Vocabulary with synonyms and antonyms, choose the best answer, clause test with clues, and at last some open-ended questions. So now we will start to discuss some classroom behaviors. There are a few standard rules that every student should observe at all times when it comes to behavior in the classroom. Number 1, respect others. You are sharing your classroom with several other students who are just as important as you. Don't try to make others feel embarrassed. Don't make fun of others, or roll your eyes or make faces when they are speaking. Number 2, be polite. If you must sneeze or cough, don't do it on another student. Turn away, use a tissue and say, "Excuse me." If someone is brave enough to ask a question, don't laugh or make fun of him. Say thank you when someone else does something nice. Use appropriate language in classroom. Number 3, keep supplies stocked. That means keep pen, papers, pencils, tissues and hand sanitizer and other supplies in your desk so that you will have one when you need it. Don't become a constant borrower. Number 4, be prepared. Maintain a homework checklist and bring your finished homework and projects to class with you on the due date. Number 5, be on time. Arriving late to class is bad for you and it is bad for other students also. When you walk in late, you interrupt the work that has begun. So, learn to be punctual. You also risk the possibility of getting on the teacher's nerve. This is never good. And number 6, while the teacher is talking, look at the teacher to make eye contact unless you are writing notes. Don't whisper, don't pass notes, don't throw things, don't laugh in the classroom, don't make funny faces to make other people laugh. Number 7, when you have a question, wait for your turn to ask a question. If someone else is speaking, simply wait with your hand raised. Don't say, me next, or oh, when you are waiting with your hand raised. You will be noticed. Okay, number 8, attend every class. You will find that students who attend every class, listen to the instructor and take good notes will be more likely to pass with a higher grade. No doubt, a regular student will pass with a higher grade. And if you have an emergency or illness, contact your instructor ahead or time to let him or her know that he will be absent. Okay, number 9, get to class on time. Students who walk into the classroom late or leave early distract other students and disrupt the learning environment. So, get to class on time. Number 10, do not have private conversations, the noise of distracting to other students. And last of all, turn cellular phones off in your classroom. It is very distracting to hear someone's phone go off in class. Texting in class is totally prohibited. So I think these are the some rules of classroom behavior you have to maintain for a better classroom. Dear learners, here you can see the themes for paper 1. That means the textbook which you have to read. And it consists of these following themes: people or institutions that made history, adolescence, travels and tourism, human achievements in science and technology, myths and literature, traffic education, which is very important for HSC level, human rights, peace and conflict, jobs and careers, diaspora, this is another important topic, manners and ethics, human relationships, environment, cultures around, dreams, music and painting. It is very interesting for HSC level. Future challenges, path to higher education, global English, natural disasters, adulteration of food. So these are the items which you have to read in English first paper, and you know that English first paper is consists of 15 units, and each units consist of 3 or more lessons. So we have to discuss gradually through all lessons and all units. Let's have a look in marks distribution in our next slide. Here distribution of marks for paper 1. From reading section you will get 60 marks. There will be MCQ type questions, 5 marks. There will be 5 questions. Comprehension questions, 10 marks. There will be 5 questions, and each question has 2 marks. Class test with clues, 5 marks. There will be 10 gaps, and each gap has half marks. Class test without clues, there will be 10 gaps, and each gap has 1 marks. That is 1 into 10 equal to 10 marks. Flow chart, 10 marks. Rearranging, 10 marks. And summarizing, 10 marks. And for summarizing, you have to get a passage or a poem, and after reading the text or poem, you have to summarize it. In writing section, there will be 40 marks. Writing paragraphs, answering questions, you will get 10 marks. Completing a story, 7 marks. Writing informal letters or emails, 5 marks. Analyzing maps, graphs or charts, you will get 10 marks. And appreciating short stories or poems, that is theme writing, 8 marks. For HSC level, there are some new items, that is flowchart is totally new for HSC students. Theme writing is totally new for HSC students, and gradually in our next class we will show the guideline how to write flowchart, how to write theme writing, etc. Now we will start Unit 1, Lesson 3, Two Women. This is the title of this lesson. These two women are Valentina Tereshkova and Kalpana Chawla. But today we will discuss on Valentina Tereshkova. Who is Valentina Tereshkova? Let's see the text. Valentina Tereshkova was born in the village Maslenikovo, Chutayabsky district in central Russia. Her Tereshkova's father was a tractor driver and her mother worked in a textile plant. Tereshkova began school in 1945 at the age of 8, but left school in 1953 and continued her education through distance learning. So, dear students, you see that Tereshkova started her education at the age of 8, and she studied only 8 years in school, and after that she left school and she started distance learning. She became interested in parachuting from a young age and trained in skydiving at the local aero club, making her first jump at age 22 on 21st May 1959. So here you have got a new word, skydiving. Now I'd like to say to my HSC students that you have to build a strong vocabulary. Vocabulary is very essential to understand a passage, and for this you have to take help from dictionary. When you start a passage to read, please take a dictionary and try to find out the meaning of the unknown words and try to make a strong vocabulary. Here is the word skydiving. What is the meaning of skydiving? The practice in which a person jumps from aircraft. The practice in which a person jumps from aircraft is called skydiving. Here you can see a picture. A person jumps and there is a parachute. So this is called skydiving. And Tereshkova was interested in skydiving. At that time, she was employed as a textile worker in a local factory, and it was her expertise in skydiving that led to her selection as a cosmonaut. Here is another important word, expertise. What is the meaning of expertise? The meaning of expertise is high level experience or high level skilled. So you see that Valentina Tereshkova is also a expertise or skilled in skydiving, and for this reason she was selected as a cosmonaut. So here is another word, cosmonaut. What is the meaning of cosmonaut? It is also called astronaut. Astronaut means who travels in a spacecraft. Who travels in a spacecraft is called astronaut or cosmonaut. Then after the flight of Yuri Gagarin, the first human being to travel to outer space in 1961. Dear learner, you can see the photograph of Yuri Gagarin, who is the first human being to travel to outer space in 1961, and the Soviet Union decided to send a woman in space. So Yuri Gagarin was the first man, and Soviet Union decided to send the first woman in space. On 16 February 1962, Proletaria Valentina Tereshkova was selected for this project from among more than 400 applicants. I repeat, Valentina Tereshkova was selected for this project from among more than 400 applicants. So I think Valentina Tereshkova was lucky enough to select as a first woman to travel in space. And there is a name, Proletaria. This is the name of the project, Proletarium. Tereshkova had to undergo a series of training that included weightless flights, isolation test, centrifuge test, rocket theory, spacecraft engineering, 120 parachute jumps, and pilot training in MiG-15, that is MiG-15 UTI jet fighters. Here is another word, undergo. Tereshkova had to undergo. So what is the meaning of undergo? To experience something. To experience something is the meaning of undergo. So Tereshkova had to undergo or had to experience a series of training before she traveled in the outer space. Since the successful launch of the spacecraft Vostok 5 on 14 June 1963, Tereshkova began preparing for her own flight. On the morning of 16 June 1963, Tereshkova and her backup cosmonauts Solovyova were dressed in spacesuits and taken to the space shuttle launch pad by bus. So there is another word, space shuttle. Space shuttle. What is the meaning of space shuttle? A vehicle in which people travel to space. What is space shuttle? A vehicle in which people travel to space. You can see a photograph of a space shuttle. Here is the photograph, and this space shuttle launch pad by a bus, and after completing her communication and life support checks, she was sealed inside Vostok 6. And finishing a 2-hour countdown, Vostok 6 launched faultlessly. So after 2-hour countdown, it is a long time, and after that Vostok 6 launched faultlessly. There is another word, faultlessly. What is the meaning of faultlessly? The meaning is without any fault. Without any fault. Although Tereshkova experienced nausea and physical discomfort for much of the flight, she orbited the Earth 48 times and spent almost 3 days in space. So dear learners, here is another word, nausea. What is the meaning of nausea? Nausea means feeling of vomiting. And physical discomfort. Discomfort means something unnatural, something bodily, unnatural feelings in our body. For experienced a long time, for traveling a long time, Tereshkova experienced a kind of vomiting in her flight, and she orbited the Earth 48 times. What is the meaning of orbit? Orbit is a circular path of one object. Circular path of one object, and she orbited the Earth 48 times and spent almost 3 days in space with a single flight. She lost more flight time than the combined times of all American astronauts who had flown before that date. Tereshkova also maintained a flight log and took photographs of the horizon. What is the meaning of log? Meaning of log means to record something. To record something, and took photographs of the horizon. And Tereshkova had taken a lot of photographs of the horizon, of the universe, of the Earth, which were later used to identify aerosol layers within the atmosphere. Aerosol layers means air layers, or in Bengali we can say Bayu Star. Vostok 6 was the final Vostok flight and was launched 2 days after Vostok 5, which carried Valery Bykovsky into a similar orbit for 5 days, landing 3 hours after Tereskova. The two vessels approached each other within 5 kilometers at one point, and from space, Tereskova communicated with Bykovsky and the Soviet leader Khrushchev by radio. This is a very victory, I think a kind of victory for Tereskova, that he can talk with the great leader Khrushchev by radio. Much later, in 1977, Tereskova earned a doctorate in engineering from Zhukovsky Air Force Academy. Afterwards, she turns to politics. Here is the word Zhukovsky. This is a kind of Russian name, you know, and so you have to pronounce it carefully. During the Soviet regime, she became one of the presidium members of the Supreme Soviet. So here is another word, regime. What is the meaning of regime? Regime means a particular period of government. A particular period of government. And now this living legend is a member in the lower house of the Russian legislature. So there is another word, living legend. Living legend. Legend means very famous person, and Tereskova is still alive, so she is called living legend or living famous person. And he is also a member of lower house of the Russian legislature. What is legislature, or what is the meaning of legislature? A government body which have the power to enforce law, to change law, to amend law, to make laws, etc. On her 70th birthday, when she was invited by the Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin, she expressed her desire to fly to Mars, even if for a one-way trip. And dear learners, you can see the photograph of Vladimir Putin. Now I have made a vocabulary for you. Here is some word, meaning of the word in Bengali, synonym, antonym, and an example to understand the word. So now let's discuss the word. First of all, there is expertise, meaning obhiggota অথবা বিশেষ জ্ঞান. A synonym is skill or ability. Antonym is weakness or ignorance. And there is an example. He did the work with expertise. He did the work with expertise. Cosmonaut, মহাকাশচারী অথবা নভোচারী, and its synonym is moonwalker or astronaut. There is no antonym, and she wanted to be a cosmonaut from her childhood. Undergo, অভিজ্ঞতা লাভ করা, endure, or to undergo. Another meaning of undergo is to experience something, to endure, and antonym is refuse. And the sentence is, for example, they had to undergo a lot of pain. Launch, meaning chalu kora or introduction or introduce something, and it is antonym is conclusion. Its antonym is conclusion, and they launched a computer training last week. Faultlessly, meaning trutihin bhabe, synonym flawlessly, antonym faultily, and the example is the air conditioner works faultlessly. Nausea, that is, I have already told you that bomi bomi verb, or it is also called the act of vomiting, queasiness, uneasiness, etc. And there is no antonym for this word. and there is a sentence, she feels nausea. Discomfort meaning oshosti othoba oshubida. Its synonym is soreness, antonym is comfort. And there is an example, you must not complain against your discomforts. Log. What is the meaning of log? Doinondin kajer hishab. Record something. And another antonym is delete. And its example is the officer scrutinized the office log. Officer scrutinized the office log. Approach. Obhimukhe gamon kora. Obhimukhe gamon kora. Its synonym is advance. Antonym is retreat. An example is they approached the bank manager for a loan. They approached the bank manager for a loan. Regime. Shashon Byabostha. Rule. Or there is another meaning, a particular section or a particular tenure of a government. And there is an example, people will not forget the dictatorial regime of Hitler. Very interesting example, people will not forget the dictatorial regime of Hitler. Legend. Legend means kimbodonti, prodigy, fable is synonym, antonym is truth, and using bold is a legend in sprinting. Career, that is pesha, occupation is the synonym, unemployed is the antonym, and the example is you must be careful in selecting your career. You must be careful in selecting your career. Okay, malfunction, that is স্বাভাবিক কাজ না করা. স্বাভাবিক কাজ না করা, its synonym is fail, antonym is perfection, and the example is they did not know about the malfunction of the machine. They did not know about the malfunction of the machine. Retrieve. Retrieves mean পুনরুদ্ধার করা. Recover is the synonym, loss is the antonym, and the army retrieved the aeroplane. The army retrieved the aeroplane. There is another word, disintegrate, meaning অবক্ষয়িত হওয়া. Synonym is collapse, antonym is combine or create, and the example is large families are being disintegrated day by day. Large families are disintegrated day by day. There is next word is fatal, that is marattok. Synonym is lethal, antonym is harmless, and sentence is tuberculosis is a fatal disease. Penetrate. The meaning of penetrate is obhontore probesh. Its synonym is enter, antonym is seal, and the example is they penetrated deep into the forest. Isolation. What is the meaning of isolation? Isolation means বিচ্ছিন্নকরণ বা পৃথকীকরণ. The synonym is isolation is separation or seclusion, antonym is inclusion or enclosure, and the sentence is he leads a life of isolation. He leads a life of isolation. Legislature. The meaning is Ain Sabha. Its synonym is parliament. And previously I have said that legislature means a government body who has the power to empower laws, to create or make laws. And the antonym is crew, and the example is the bill was passed in the legislature. The bill was passed in the legislature. Okay, dear learners, now I will discuss about some questions, and choose the correct answer from the alternatives is the first questions in your question paper. I will give you some questions and I will discuss it, and after that, after the discussion, I will give the answers. You can take your pen and papers to cope with the class, or to understand the class, or for better understanding you can and take a pen and a khata. Number 1 question, which of the following statements is not true? Tereshkova was selected to fly to space on 16 February 1962. Or number 2, Tereshkova began school in 1945. Or Tereshkova received only one training prior to her flight to space. Number 4, Tereshkova made her first jump after the age of 23. So which is the correct answer? You have to choose the best answer. And for question A, best answer is number 3. Tereshkova received only one training prior to her flight to space. Because you have to know which of the following statement is not true. So this is not true. Tereshkova received a lot of training prior to her flight to space. Okay, number B, what does astronaut mean? What does astronaut mean? To travels in space. Who is a space researcher? Number 3, who travels in spacecraft? Number 4, who knows astronomy? The best answer is number 3, who travels in spacecraft is called an astronaut. Number C, Vostok 6 launched its journey after a countdown of 5 hours or 2 hours, 3 hours or 1 hour. The question, the answer of the question is number 2. 2 hours is the correct answer. Okay, number D. What could be the closest meaning of parachuting in the fourth line? What could be the closest meaning for parachuting in the fourth line? Number 1, to jump from a plane. Number 2, to dive down from a helicopter. Number 3, to descend by means of a parachute. Number 4, to fall down with the help of a big cloth. So which is the correct answer? For D, number 3 is the correct answer, to descend by means of a parachute. So the meaning of parachuting is to descend by means of a parachute. Number E, question E, Tereshkova's backup cosmonaut was. Who was the backup cosmonaut of Tereshkova? Number 1, Solovyova. Number 2, an ordinary pilot. Number 3, nobody. And number 4, her father. Of course, the best answer is number 1, Solovyova was the backup cosmonaut of Tereshkova. Now, dear learners, you can see the solution to question 1, which I already discussed, number 1, A. The right answer for question A is number 3. Tereshkova received only one training prior to her flight to space. Number B, answer is number 3, who travels in a spacecraft. For number C, answer is 2 hours. For number D, answer is number 3, to descend by means of a parachute. Or question E, answer is number 1, Solovyova. Dear learners, here are some more questions for practice. You know that in your exam, in question paper, you have to write only 5 MCQ, but for better experience or for better result, you have to go through some more practice. Here are some more questions. Number F, the word isolation can be best explained as. Number 1, to be exclusive. Number 2, to be concerned. Number 3, to stand aside. And number 4, segregation. Here answer will be number 4. Segregation is the best answer for isolation. The word centrifuge stands for. Number 1, the apparatus used for experiments. Number 2, an apparatus that rotates at high speed, a scientific instrument. And number 4, an instrument needed in the laboratory. The best example, the best answer should be an apparatus that rotates at high speed. So number 2 is the correct answer for G, centrifuge. Number 8, the best synonym of communication is talking, hearing, discussing, and transmission. Here 4 is the correct answer. The best synonym of communication is transmission. Number I, Valentina Tereshkova's birthplace was in number 1, Northern Russia, number 2, Tunisia, number 3, Central Russia, and number 4, Germany. So which is the correct answer? Is number 3, Central Russia. Tereshkova, number J, Tereshkova went to school only for 6 years, 8 years, or 10 years, or 5 years. So correct answer will be number 2, 8 years is the correct answer. Tereshkova went to school only for 8 years, and after that she started distance learning. Number K, Tereshkova earned training in skydiving from tutors at home. Number 2, second option, at a training institute. Number 3, at the local aero club. And next option, at her neighborhood club. So correct answer is number 3, at the local aero club. So Tereshkova earned training in skydiving at the local aero club. So number L, when Tereshkova made her first jump, she was an employee. Options, there are 4 options. Number 1, in a local textile factory. Number 2, in a sewing company. Number 3, in a kindergarten school. And number 4, in an aerospace company. Here should be the answer number 1, in a local textile factory. When Tereshkova made her first jump, she was an employee in a local textile factory. Now question M. The Soviet Union took decision to send a woman a space. Option 1, after Tereshkova received space training. Option 2, after making aircrafts went to space. Option 3, after the flight of Yuri Gagarin. And option 4, whether a spaceship was ready. So here best answer should be number 3. The Soviet Union took decision to send a woman in space after the flight of Yuri Gagarin. After the flight of Yuri Gagarin is the right answer. Number N, how many applicants were there for the project? There are 4 options. Number 1, 300. Number 2, 400. Number 3, 450. And number 4, 500. And you know that there are 400 applicants for the project. And among them, Valentina Tereshkova was selected. She was so lucky to travel in this space. Dear learner, here is the solution to question 1, and the solution for more answer for more questions. Number F, answer is segregation. For number G, answer is an apparatus that rotates at high speed. We have already discussed about this. Number H, transmission. Number I, Central Russia. The answer for number J, 8 years. The answer for number K is at the local aero club. Answer for number L is in a local textile factory. And answer for number M, after the flight of Yuri Gagarin. And answer for question N, 400. I request my learners to write down the answers in their khata, and we will practice more in our next session, in our next class. Now we will show a new item, that is the fill in the gaps with suitable words from the list. Its another name is clause test with clues. Clause test with clues. There are 10 clause. That is parachuting, lead, cosmonaut, tractor, left, textile, central, distance, worker, and expertise. In order to get a good mark in clause test with clues, you have to know the meaning of these clues. If you are not capable to understand the meaning of these clues, then
it will be very difficult for you to fill in the gaps. And there is another important thing is grammar. For this gap filling, you should know the right English grammar. Without grammar, you will not get full marks in this class test with clues. So now I will start to read this passage. Valentina Tereshkova was born in the village Maslenikova, Titaevsky district in dash Russia. So which will be the correct answer in this gap? You have to choose the correct word to fill in the gap. Here I think the correct answer will be Central Russia. So Valentina Tereshkova was born in the village Meskelinova, Titaevsky district in Central Russia. Tereskova's father was a dash driver. You know, if you go through the text, so I request all students, I request severally that please try to read the passage carefully. Please try to read the passage thoroughly, because from this passage you have to answer MCQ question, you have to answer clause test with clues, you have to answer summary writing. So passage is very important. So the answer for question B will be tractor driver. Tereskova's father was a tractor driver and her mother worked in a dash plant. So it should be textile plant. It should be textile plant. And Tereskova began school in 1945 at the age of 8, but dash school in 1953. So what will be the correct answer for D? Left. Left should be the correct answer. I repeat, Tereskova began school in 1945 at the age of 8, but left school in 1953 and continued her education through dash learning. Here should be the answer through distance learning. Through distance learning. She became interested in dash from a young age. Here would be the answer parachuting from a young age. Here is the word parachuting. She became interested in parachuting from a young age and trained in skydiving at the local aero club, making her first jump at the age of 22 on 21st May 1959. At that time, she was employed as a textile. What should be the correct answer? Number G, worker. She was employed as a textile worker in a local factory. It was her dash in skydiving, which will be the correct answer for age. Expertise is the correct answer. Expertise is the correct answer. It was her expertise in skydiving that dash her. That led is the correct answer for number I. Led to her selection as a J, which will be the correct answer. Cosmonaut is the correct answer. I repeat last line. It was her expertise in skydiving that led to her selection as a cosmonaut. It was her expertise in skydiving that led to her selection as a cosmonaut. Here is the solution to question 2, which I have already discussed. Number A is central, number B is tractor, number C is textile, number D is left. For question E, solution is distance. For question F, solution is parachuting. For question G, answer will be worker. For question H, answer will be expertise. For question I, answer is led, and for question J, answer is cosmonaut. So dear learners, you can write down the answers in your script or in your khata. Now we will go for another question. Question number 3 is that answer the following question, that is called open-ended questions. There will be 5 questions in your exam from a passage. After reading the passage, you have to write down the answers. So I repeat and I request all my students to read the passage carefully, because a lot of questions will take place in your questions in your final exam. You have to answer MCQ type question, you have to answer flowchart, you have to answer open-ended question, you have to answer clause test with clues, you have to answer summary writing. All these types of questions will come from the text which is prescribed by our National Textbook Board. So you have to buy English for Today first and try to read the passage carefully. Okay, number question A. What do you know about Tereshkova early life? I have already written an answer for you. This is a kind of sample for you. You should not follow this, or you should not copy this, or you should not memorize this. You can write in your own language also. There is a sample. I'd like to show how to write Tereshkova early life, how to write the short question answers. And the answer is Valentina Tereshkova was born on 6th March 1937 in the village Meslenikova, Tytyavsky district in central Russia. Her father was a tractor driver and her mother worked in a textile mill. Valentina didn't start school until she was 8 and had to leave school at the age of 16. She continued her education through distance learning. Question B. What inspired Tereshkova to volunteer for a space program? There is also a sample answer for you. You can follow how to write question and short question answer in this way. And after Yuri Gagarin became the first man in space in 1961, Tereshkova volunteered for the Soviet space program. Although she did not have any experience as a pilot, she was accepted into the program because of her 126 parachute jumps. At the time, cosmonauts had to parachute from their capsules seconds before they hit the ground on returning to Earth. Okay, question C. What can you say about the trainings Tereshkova took? The answer should be, along with 4 other women, Tereshkova received 18 months of training, which included tests to determine how she would react to long periods of time being alone, to extreme gravity conditions, and to zero gravity conditions. Of the 5 women, only Tereshkova went into space. Question D. Who was the first human being to fly to outer space? Answer is here. Yuri Gagarin was the first human being to travel into outer space in 1961. This encouraged Soviet Union to send a woman in space. Valentina Tereshkova was fortunate enough to be selected for the project from among 400 competitors in February 1962. Question E. What confidence made Tereshkova to prepare for her own flight? What confidence made Tereshkova to prepare for her own flight? Here is the answer. I repeat that this answer is just a kind of sample for you. You have to write in your own language, or you can follow my style. You should follow the style, you should follow the language. What should be the answer of such type of questions? Okay, dear learners, here is the answer. After Vostok 5 made its victorious launch, Tereshkova gained confidence and started preparing for her own flight. On 16 June 1963, she and her backup cosmonaut Soloveyova dressed space suits and they were taken to the space shuttle. After the completion of communication and life support checking, she got locked in Vostok 6, which launched flawlessly after 2 hours. So thank you, dear learners. Today we have discussed marks distribution of first paper about Valentina Tereshkova, vocabulary, choose the best answer, cross test with clues, and some open-ended questions. So now it's time to go. See you next. Stay home and stay safe. Allah Hafiz.